May I say good morning to you all. Good morning. Please be seated. Before we commence proceedings, can you please ensure, you've heard this so many times, can you please ensure that your mobile phones and iPads are on silent? Colleagues, it's with great sadness that I have to formally report the death of another one of our colleagues. Henry Nicholson was one of our representatives for the Shildon and Dean Valley electoral division and was elected in 2013. Henry was born and bred in Shildon and had the honour of being Mayor of Shildon Town Council in 2014-2015. He served the Town Council from 2008. Secondly, it is also with great sadness that I have to report the deaths of former Easington District Councillor and Seaham Town Councillor Bruce Byrne. Bruce served on Easington District Council from 1999 to 2009. Kevin Graham, former Weir Valley District Councillor, I attended his funeral yesterday, represented the Escombe ward on the District Council from 1995 to 2003. I can say that Henry Nicholson was a good friend, as was Kevin Graham, and I'm sure in extending my thoughts to the family and friends of Bruce Byrne, I would like to combine these three in a moment's silence with us all standing. Can you do that? Thank you. Please be seated. Firstly, for this morning's meeting, can I have, referring to the minutes, can I have a mover and seconder for the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of January 2019? Second minutes, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Henning. Thank you, Councillor Nick. Does the Council agree to the minutes as a true record? Thank you for that. Taking us through agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in relation to any items of business on the agenda? Councillor Blakey.
Thank you, Chair. I'm declaring interest on agenda item number 10. I'm still working on the new build board and on the work group, so I'd like to be open and transparent. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Chair, I should probably prefer to say interest.
Same. And there being no more, can we therefore proceed? Third item on the agenda is Chairman's announcements. Well, tempus fugit, time flies, and we must be aware of the fact that this morning's agenda is a big one, and we therefore have to dispense with any comments from the Chair in relation to activities which I really so much enjoy doing. Before I have my wrists slapped, I would get on. debate will centre around the setting of the budget and council tax. As in previous years, I am asking the council to waive Standing Order 4.2a of the council procedure rules to extend the time allowed for the length of the meeting. In the event that proceedings take longer than 2.5 hours, can I ask the council to agree this course of action? Thank you. Which takes us to Leaders' Report, Agenda Item 4. Councillor Henning, can you present your report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Taking your lead, as there are lots of items to come on today's agenda, I do not propose to give a leaders' report at this meeting. There is, of course, a lot happening, as you yourself have said, but I did make a full report last month and will bring members up to date next month. Today, the focus is rightly on the budget, and I will rise again shortly to introduce this key item to the Council. Thank you.
Can I ask the council to note the leaders' report? Agreed. Taking us to agenda item 5, questions from area action partnerships. Can I ask the head of Legal and Democratic Services to explain the procedure regarding AAP questions, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, members. The questions from the AAP will be displayed in turn on the screen. The Chairman will invite each AAP representative to put their question, and then the relevant portfolio holder will be invited to respond. There will be no discussion on the matter once the question has been answered, and no supplementary questions are allowed. As usual, all replies will be posted on the Council's website.
The first question comes from Teesdale Area Action Partnership. Can I invite Adam White, the AAP coordinator, to ask that question, please? Adam.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to acknowledge the work that Durham County Council has put into identifying the unique needs of rural communities throughout the County Durham Plan and Vision consultations. I feel that both documents will hopefully provide Durham County Council and its partners with a clear vision for shaping the future of County Durham. With this in mind, I would like to ask the following question. Would Durham County Council also consider developing bespoke rural development plans for communities like Teesdale to further underpin economic and social regeneration? The TAP board feel that local development plans would place even more emphasis on rural grouping the needs of communities like Teesdale and ultimately support the work of Durham County Council and its partners.
Thank you, Adam. Well thought out question. Can I ask the portfolio holder, please, to respond?
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to start by thanking Teesdale Area Action Partnership for the question this morning and for your recognition of the efforts the Council has put into the work on the county plan and the new vision. The Council recognises the challenges and opportunities facing our rural communities. As you'll be aware, we're working with a number of these rural communities to help them to prepare neighbourhood plans, which when complete will form part of the statutory development for their areas. As part of the preparation of the neighbourhood plan, we would always encourage the use of rural planning as much as possible for communities to join together in preparing the plans. A master plan or plans that cover rural areas may also be something the Council would consider as part of its approach to the new enhanced town building programme. Neighbourhood plans, which form part of the statutory development plan, give communities the opportunity to set out proposals such as developing a shared vision for their neighbourhood, choosing where new homes, shops, offices and other development should be built, identifying and protecting local green spaces, and having a say on what new buildings should look like. The County Council and health groups, including through officer support and technical advice, and we recommend that groups get advice at the earliest possible stage of their neighbourhood plan development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. Can I go to the next question, which is from Mid-Durham Area Action Partnership. Can I invite Councillor David Bell, Chair of the AAP, to ask the question, please?
Thank you, Chair. As an Area Action Partnership, we welcome that this year, 2019, is being recognised as County Durham's Year of Culture. We also welcome and recognise all the county's cultural, sporting and heritage-related planned events and activities that will be developed Manchester. We also, on our northwestern border, include an area of outstanding natural beauty. In what way can we expect or focus on or support for the assets within our AA area in order that they can maximise their exposure and involvement in the unique culture in County Durham? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Bell. Can I ask our portfolio holder, Councillor Ozzie Johnson, I think, to respond, please?
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I would like to thank Mid-Durham AAP for the question and David for asking the question. Festivals and events have an important part to play in delivering the corporate approach to cultural-led regeneration. They help to place and position County Durham positively, whilst attracting investment, extending engagement in community life and volunteering, and supporting skills and health by engaging more people in culture and sport. 2019 sees a range of new cultural events, openings and anniversaries in the county which will build on the continued growth in culture activities in recent years through the County Council and wider partners. This year, it is planned to recognise this with a year of activities, festivals, events and anniversaries in a designated 2019 year of culture, which will include a number of events within the Mid-Durham AAP area, particularly around Usher College and Bransford Castle. The wider community are also encouraged to participate in the Year of Culture by adding activities and events, and all activities will be supported by the campaign. Coordinated by a steering group with membership from elected members representing AAPs, Durham County Council officers and other key partners, the year will bring together events across the county under an umbrella brand developed by Visit County Durham. Work is now in progress to create special offers linked to key events and to encourage all events to link to the brand through #Durham19. Organisations, events can now sign up to receive regular updates. Promotion is being undertaken by Visit County Durham to encourage engagement and promotional tools. These tools are also in development, including an online #Durham19 toolkit and eventually a submission form. These tools will be instrumental in developing a wider listing of community events. And Visit County Durham are doing a series of events throughout the year where you can get a list of events of what's going on. Any community-based organisations who would like to get involved are asked to contact their AAP representative to discuss how they can be part of the Year of Culture. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. That concludes the questions from the AAPs. I thank them both for your contribution this morning, for submitting your questions, and the representatives for attending the meeting. So thank you indeed. Thank you both. Taking us to agenda item 6, which is questions from the public. No public questions have been submitted for today's meeting. There being none, that moves us on to agenda item 7, which is petitions from the public. No petitions have been received, taking us therefore to agenda item 8, which is a report from the Cabinet. Councillor Hennig, can you present your report, please? to note the report. Thank you for that. Taking us to agenda item 9, Budget 2019 to 20, report under section 25 of the Local Government Act 2003. May I ask the Corporate Director of Resources to present the report? John.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Section 25 of the Local Government Act requires me to report to Council on the robustness of estimates and adequacy of the Council's reserves before members make their final decisions on the budget and Council tax for 2019-20. The Section 25 report is a statutory report and ensures that members have appropriate professional advice before they make the budget decisions today. In terms of the robustness of estimates in the budget paper before Council today, work has been ongoing on the NTFP 9 for almost a year since we set the last budget. Service pressures have been identified and estimates have been made of the impact of these pressures in 2019-20 and indeed over the medium-term financial plan period. Reports have been presented to Cabinet and the Scrutiny Committee as the budget is developed, which provides as much transparency as possible in developing the Council's budget proposals. Assumptions are being made on income and pressures across the NTFP, and in my professional view, we have taken all reasonable and practical steps to make provision for the County Council's commitments in 2019-20 to achieve a balanced budget. There are no late funding notifications that I need to make Council aware of before they consider the budget today. If I can move on and talk about reserves, SIPA guidance sets out there is no case for a minimum level of reserves and each local authority should take advice from its Chief Financial Officer. The reasons for holding reserves are set out in paragraph 14 of this report, and SIPA guidance highlights a range of factors that we should consider, including inflation, demand pressures, and the general financial climate, amongst others, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Importantly, the guidance refers to reserves being deployed to fund recurring and ongoing expenditure and indicates that this is not a long-term option. If members choose to use reserves as recommended in the 1920 budget, action needs to be factored into the NTFP to ensure this is addressed over time. This has been acknowledged by Cabinet and is reflected in the NTFP model in front of members today. And if I can talk a little bit about risks, in terms of risks facing the Council, it is fair to say that local government is operating in unprecedented times at the moment. There is significant uncertainty around the Council's funding beyond the 2019-20 budget. Some information on the fair funding review has started to emerge, and there are some big risks for this Council in relation to public health funding and the general distribution of Council funding going forward. There are also significant risks associated with the move to 75% business rate retention from 2020, which could impact on the Council's finances over the medium term. Taking these risks into account, the reserves policy is set out in paragraph 18 of the report in relation to earmarked reserves and the Council's general reserve. So in closing, Chair, if the Council accepts the Cabinet recommended Council tax increase of 2.99% to 2% for the adult social care precinct, and the funding for pressures and investments is set out in the budget report, this, alongside the authority's financial management arrangements, suggests that the level of reserves is adequate and taken alongside the Council's financial management arrangements. The recommendation is set out in paragraph 21. Thank you.
My thanks to our Corporate Director, John Hewitt. Do any members have any questions on the report, please? There being none, can I ask the Council to note the statement with approving the budget and setting the level of Council tax for 2019-2020? We have agreement, and I thank you. Before we consider any further business, can I remind the Council that under paragraph 14.6 of the Council Procedure Rules, a recorded vote is required for each of the budget and Council tax items, including the amendments. The voting record will be in the minutes of the meeting. Can I also remind members that when formally voting on items, you must wait, capital letters, must wait, until you have heard the audible sound before selecting your voting preference. Council
similar and in line with the motion that Councillor Lane and I proposed and indeed was accepted by the County Council at last year's budget session. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Do you have a seconder?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to second the combined items of 10 and 11 of the report.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Can I ask the Head of Legal and Democratic Services to confirm whether this would be appropriate? To explain.
Thank you, Chairman. It would be appropriate. As Councillor Robinson of Lane explained, the items are inextricably linked and an amendment to one would likely impact on the other, so it is appropriate for the two to be dealt together.
Does the Council agree? Agree. Thank you. Can I ask the Head of Legal and Democratic Services to explain the impact on proceedings of taking the two items together?
Thank you, Chairman. Taking the two items together impacts upon the length of time that members can speak. The proposer and seconder of a motion and the group leaders will have double the usual allotted time on motions. For the purposes of these two items, this means group leaders will have 10 minutes to speak. Movers and seconders of motions or amendments will have 6 minutes, and all other speakers will have 3 minutes. As the Chairman said, recorded votes will still be required for each individual agenda item.
Taking us therefore to agenda items 10 and 11, medium-term financial plan 2019 to 2020 to 2022-23, revenue and capital budget 2019 to 20, and setting of council tax. Can I ask the leader of the council to present and move the reports, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm very pleased to present and move the medium-term financial plan 2019-20 to 2022-23, revenue and capital budget 2019-20, and council tax setting in order to meet the County Council's net budget requirements of £400.031 million for 2019-20. Proposals were approved by Cabinet at its meeting on the 6th of February and followed an extensive period of consultation and scrutiny. Our proposals have been in the public domain for many months, even though it is only a few weeks since government finalised its annual local government settlements. Chairman, since the start of government austerity in 2010-11, Durham County Council has been forced to deliver savings of more than £220 million. There will be a further huge £14.2 million reduction in government revenue support grant next year, which dwarfs the additional one-off funding pots found in the settlements for areas such as winter pressures. All this despite the much vaunted Tory promise of an end to austerity. Well, it's a very strange end to austerity. At least 30 million more is still to come in future years, and the cuts may be even worse in subsequent years as a result of the so-called fair funding review, of which I will say more later. We are now estimating a reduction in council posts of almost 3,000 by 2020. This compares with just over 100 lost as a result of local government reorganisation in 2009. Let us remember that austerity is the offspring of both Conservatives and Liberal Democrats. In fact, the cuts were at their deepest from 2010 to 15. Former Chancellor George Osborne promised in 2010 they would be over by 2015, as we may remember. But cuts are still going in 2019-20 and there is no end in sight. spending power, and that's the government's own preferred measure, is now almost £200 lower per dwelling than the national average, and this is shown in Table 4 of item 10 in paragraph 41. Our core spending power is lower even than places such as Surrey and Wokingham, despite the level of need in County Durham in areas such as adults and children's services being far greater. If County Durham were funded at the national average, the report makes clear we would receive £44 million more in government grants. It should also be noted that government figures on core spending power assume that councils will increase council tax to the permitted limits. Given the serious implications to our budgets and to services if we do not follow this government's expectation, most around the country have concluded there is no choice. Our proposals therefore include a 2.99% general council tax increase and 2% adult social care fee set for 2019-20, as set out in paragraph 4 of Agenda Item 11. Chairman, it is high time the government funded local services properly and did not pass the buck to councils and the general public to bridge a funding gap that they have created. So this is the background against which we must set our budget. It is a completely different world to that when the unitary authority came into being almost a decade ago. And yet, despite this, we have managed to protect many frontline services in County Durham. Our priorities have been shaped by many years of consultation with several thousand residents across the county, telling us their priorities. Those priorities include support for the elderly in their homes, safeguarding budgets for vulnerable and looked after children, budgets for winter gritting, and council tax support for low-income households. We are now the only council in the North East where the poorest working-age families are exempt from council tax. And those priorities also include the economy and job creation. So we've always retained our business support function to create much-needed jobs, as well as a fully funded capital programme aimed at economic regeneration. County Durham has always retained a fully funded capital programme to boost our infrastructure and our economy. Funded mainly from borrowing grants and contributions, as demonstrated in Appendix 8 and Table 12 of Item 10, this is not an optional extra. It is critical for a county which has never fully recovered from the Thatcher onslaughts of the 1980s and early 1990s. We have to do everything we can to close the economic gap, whatever happens as a result of Brexit. So we on our side made no apology, but again making proposals to improve our economy and boost jobs. That includes an expansion of Durham City's Park and Ride, additional funding for highways maintenance, and funding for town and village regeneration. In our complete capital programme, which is set out in Appendix 7 of Item 10, you will see support for our industrial estates, our town centres, for housing, for integrated transport, and for renewable technology. And let us be very clear, Chairman, neither do we make any apology on this side for moving off this side to attract 6,000 jobs, which this county and the North East so badly needs. So I'm very happy to move approval of the 2019-20 capital budget of £148 million and MTFP 9 capital budget of £391.171 million. Chairman, we are fortunate that Durham County Council has remained financially robust in the face of significant economic challenges and the onslaught of government austerity. By comparison, a number of councils, some of whom have taken less sensible decisions, have come close to bankruptcy, with others close to the brink. We are now facing a government fair funding review which is threatening to transfer yet more resource from poor to rich, Robin Hood in reverse, with the government claiming quite remarkably that deprivation is not a factor in determining the need for which the government is doing very little about. In fact, preoccupied by Brexit, Chairman, the government is doing very little about anything.
Can I interrupt you a moment and say that you have 1 minute?
Faced by these pressures which are making the task of setting our general fund budget more and more difficult, we're proposing savings proposals for 1920 totalling 10.3 million as outlined in Appendix 3. Members are asked to consider the equality impact assessments of the savings proposals and the mitigation set out in paragraphs 143 to 164 of the budget report and in Appendix 10. Consultation feedback is in paragraphs 47 to 53 and scrutiny committee feedback is in 54 to 57. The Council is extremely fortunate that we're able to meet the budget shortfall in the Children's High Needs Block of dedicated schools grant with a one-off use of 5.487 million of budget support reserves to plug the shortfall. This is unprecedented, but it is a good thing, Chairman, we still have some reserves and didn't listen to the people who told us to spend them all. Had we done that, we really would now be in a crisis. As it is, our budget proposals continue to protect Durham's frontline services as far as possible. Chairman, in closing, as well as those areas of the report I've highlighted, we also need to agree the Prudential Code, Treasury Management Strategy and Property Strategies as set out in Appendix 14 of Item 10. Note the tax base is agreed by Cabinet as set out in paragraph 9 of Item 11, the collection fund surplus and distribution is set out in paragraph 8, and the precepts of police, fire and parish councils as notified set out in the council tax reports. Recommendations of all of the required council tax resolutions are set out in paragraph 9 of Item 11. In closing, I would like to thank all of our officers and especially the Cabinet Portfolio Holder for Finance for their careful, robust and forward-thinking financial stewardship. It was a very difficult time. I move the reports and recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henning. Can I have a seconder to the report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I will be repeating some of the areas that have already been outlined and violated, but I offer no apologies for that. Because once again, we have had to endure another year of austerity from a Conservative government oblivious to the impact on local communities. Another year of central government putting out core grants and forcing local authorities to ask people to pay more for services. Another year of one-off sticking plasters and no long-term funding solutions. And another year of massive cost pressures brought about by austerity. We are now 9 years into austerity. Never before has local government seen cuts of this magnitude. You just have to look around to see the devastating impact that this government's policies are now having on our local communities, particularly in less prosperous areas. Food banks have now become the norm for a generation of young people who are growing up with them. Rising homelessness, services cut to the bone in many local authorities, a health service that accommodates its needs, police services being told to increase their precept by more than 10%. This is what austerity means in reality, and it will take years to put right the mess that this government has made. So if we move on to County Durham and our local authority, by the end of this financial year, we will have delivered savings of £224 million. It is an unequivocal fact that if we had not faced austerity, this council would have had £224 million more to spend on services than it has today. Imagine what that sort of money could do, what else we could have achieved. But Chairman, this is not just us on this side of the chair, but in the other service. Let's see what other people have to say. The Local Government Association Conservative Fund has set out an £8 billion funding gap by 2025, which will force councils to put services such as park maintenance, light enforcement, and council tax support and many other services unless more funding is found in the 2020 spending review. The Independent Institute for Fiscal Studies has said that the new funding package will result in poorer areas with more money than already wealthy ones. The chairman of the LGA's Resources Board has warned that financial viability of some councils would be threatened if the spending review does not deliver adequate funding. And that is councils were at the front of the queue when austerity was started, so local service should be at the front of the queue when it comes to an end. And it comes to something when even the Financial Times starts to comment on the scale of cuts that some local authorities have faced. So please don't listen to anyone who tells you that austerity is a necessity and it's coming to an end. It isn't. It's gone too far, Chairman, and it needs to stop. Moving on to the 1920 budget and savings. The savings needed for 1920 are 15.8 million.
needs to learn, while seeing the continuation of massive pressures on our children's services and educational special needs, totaling almost 12 million in 1920 alone. We are proposing to use 5.4 million of the budget support reserve to help to balance the budget due to the crisis in special needs funding. This is in addition to the 13 million we've used over the last 2 years to help set the budget. Our spending power, as already been outlined by the leader, is lower than the England average, and how can that be possibly right, given the levels of deprivation and demand for services across some areas of the county? If we were funded to the England average, we wouldn't be seeing an additional 44 million grant. This is the most uncertain period in local government history I have ever known, and we are awaiting the outcome of a fair funding review and the comprehensive spending review to see how this government intends to allocate resources in the future. With regards to council tax, I want to be very clear about this government's policy on funding local services. The referendum limit for a council tax increase has been increased by 1%, moved the cap up to 3%, Chairman. Government has advised us that this increase is in recognition regarding the pressures we are facing, particularly in social care. All of the figures produced by government assume we have increased council tax to this limit. It was reported last week that 97% of councils are likely to increase council tax, a reflection of the caution from central government to local taxpayers. We are recommending increasing council tax in line with government expectations. We will also be utilising the 2% social care precept introduced by the government to fund pressures. Unlike many councils, I am pleased to announce that we are maintaining the local council tax reduction scheme. I'm not getting late this year, Chairman. At the same level as under the council tax benefit scheme. I only hope that the fair funding review does not make further cuts to funding this vital support that we have worked so hard as a council, because we have unanimity on this, and we have worked so hard to maintain. The only authority in the North East to retain the benefits of the original scheme. Chairman, in closing, I want to be clear that we are presenting the budget in the face of imposed austerity. We have excellent members and officers who are focused on delivering the best services we can within the constraints of this government's policies. We have not took the difficult decision, but we will always continue to focus on our local people in County Durham, despite this government's policy. Let us not lose sight of what can happen if we get this wrong. Budgets not being balanced and commissioners arriving to run our services. We cannot and will not let that happen. Chairman, I am happy to second these reports and the Council's general council tax increase to 2.99% and the adult social care precept at 2% as set out in the two reports.
Thank you, Councillor Mayfield. Councillor Crick, I understand you wish to speak as chairman of over legal scrutiny. Councillor Crick.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to present this formal statement on behalf of the security function of the Council, but specifically on behalf of the Topic Overview of the Security Management Board, which is the all-know responsibility for the overall oversight and security of the Council's medium-term financial plan and also the budget setting process. Our scrutiny of the budget process took place over 3 separate sessions, held first in September, then in January, and then most recently last week. Our considerations have been broad-based and informed by the overall financial outlook for local government nationally. Our scrutiny work included consideration of the budget setting process, developing savings proposals, consideration of the settlement, the consultation approach to the budget process, all the way through to our ongoing quarterly scrutiny of delivery of budget savings. Overall, members of the committee were very members wanted to give strong support to Cabinet in ongoing efforts that they are making to lobby government with regard to the fair funding review.
1 minute.
And the need to not just protect funding but to secure more funding for County Durham, and crucially to provide certainty on funding levels. Funding to account for deprivation, public health, for additional rurality costs, and poverty were highlighted as a particular priority. Chairman, it's important to reflect that the Council deserves credit on the handling of ongoing austerity measures. Members of the committee wish to commend officers for their efforts in achieving the savings to date since austerity began back in 2010. Our specific comments have been previously reported to Cabinet and set out paragraphs 54 to 57 in the Council report. I acknowledge that a huge amount of effort has gone in this year, as in previous years, to ensure that we have a set of savings proposals that, if agreed, along with the utilisation of the budget support reserve, will give a balanced budget. In conclusion, Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity to share the script with you, the Council, this morning.
And I thank you for your contribution, Councillor Pruitt. Before we move into the debate on items 10 and 11, can I invite questions on the reports? If there are none, then can I move on? If there are no questions, can I ask the Head of Legal and Democratic Services to explain the procedures regarding the amendments?
Thank you, Chairman. The amendments will be dealt with in the order that they were received and are set out in the papers today. So we'll take first the Durham County Council Independent Group's amendment, Democrat Group, followed by the Conservative Groups. I'd like to remind members that the deadline for submitting amendments to the proposals for the Council's budget and policy framework was noon on Friday the 15th of February. There were no further amendments received other than those that are set out in today's agenda, and therefore no further amendments can be moved on the budget and policy framework today. Once an amendment has been moved and seconded, the debate is on that amendment. Each member can speak once on the amendment, except for Councillor Hennick, who is the mover of the substantive motion, has the right of reply before the amendment is put to the vote. He cannot otherwise speak on the amendment. If, following the vote, the amendment is carried, it becomes part of the substantive motion. If the amendment is not carried, the debate returns to the substantive motion, and will repeat the process for each of the three amendments that we have. I'd like to remind members as well that the votes on the amendments will also be recorded. Once we've dealt with all of the amendments, we'll move back to the substantive motion as appropriate, and anyone who hasn't yet spoken on the substantive motion can do so at that point before again moving to the recorded votes.
Are there any questions to the Head of Legal and Democratic Services on the procedure? There being none, can I move on in my list here? Could I invite someone to move the Durham County Council Independent Group amendment, please? Councillor Shuttleworth, thank you.
I made the first two speakers 11 minutes, so I hope I'm recorded the same. I'll make it approximately.
Can I say that since I allowed, with my own weak courtesy, 11 minutes to our leader, I will give you 11 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honour. Chairman, this is an important thing. It isn't for us. And I will move the following amendment. That the Council, in respect of the Cabinet's 2019-20 budget and MTFP 9, to consider the following. Cease entirely the publication of County Durham News since April 2019, reducing the saving of 160,000. Reduce the staffing in communications and marketing as it was in 2009, to 1 press officer, 2 assistants and 2 marketing officers. This would produce a saving of 2019-20 of 672,500 and the saving for 2021, totaling nearly 1.4. Item C, cease entirely the development of the new HQ in the History Centre, total of 13.1 billion. The capital cost is funded from borrowing, which resulted in a revenue saving of £70,000, 22-23. The remainder of the capital cost is
shows the savings there. The revenue savings identified, and this is the only amendment that addresses this, is that we reduced the council tax from 2.99% to 1.99%. The total tax increase in 2019-20 would therefore be 3.99 once the average social care piece of 2% included. The lost income of 2019-20 is 2.1 million from this proposal. The remaining savings of 150,000 will be invested in around £500 per annum for each village hall in the community centre around the county. Total revenue cost for that is shown on the table there. They will be required to utilise additional budget support reserve, which may be criticised later, and I'll come back to that, at 1.4 million in 1920, so the total would be an increase from 5.487 to 6.9. The savings in 2020 to 2021 and 2023 will ensure the additional costs incurred are balanced across the MTFP. In relation to the capital budget, the savings from ceasing plans to build a new HQ and the History Centre proposed to be invested as follows. The total backlog maintenance to retain this building is £37 million, and a total of 10 million to be made available across the MTFP 9 period to ensure any high priority condition issues are addressed within County Hall to future backlog maintenance. An increase in highway maintenance budget of 5.375 million in the next 4 years will give 21.5 million. And bear in mind we're a backlog of 88 million, as report. The table there gives the breakdown and the summary of the decision to increase the utilisation of the budget support reserve by 1.423 million, although savings target of 2021 increased by 750,000. This is to offset the 21-22, ensuring that the savings shortfall over MTFP 9 is retained at 23.243 million. In rolling the amendment, I just want to put out 5 minutes left on that. Our residents in County Durham pay council tax for providing services such as maintaining roads, footways, and provision of street lighting and the like. Some of our residents live on very low incomes, pay poor rent, and ask for very little. So for them to see what is in total the council tax bill rise in excess of 5%, which is disheartening and probably makes life difficult in the police precinct hasn't helped them among that either. This amendment, if agreed, addresses some of our residents' constituents' concerns. They are the people who matter to all of us in here. They are our constituents. In that, it reduces the Durham County Council tax bill to 1.99%, reverses the proposed new bill for new office accommodation at the City Centre, reverses all necessary links on the County Hall building, its central, easily accessible location. Maintaining its presence on this site is most important to people out there. Few in Durham City or in Hay County, the county support the new proposed bill, as it's in excess of £50 million, is to split away in our view, my view. Probably a lot of people out there in view. The new £16,500 signs on the site outside there saying 80 dates coming soon. Reports over the last year that they have shown that there's going to be up to 6,000 jobs, over 6,000 jobs, potentially 6,000 jobs, so that means there's going to be no 1,000 jobs. Could be an executive housing development. But already on this site we've got in excess of 2,500 jobs in any case, because the 1,800 here is 8 there, and we've got a relocation of Waterstones at the top. So, you know, we're over 2,500 now. The trouble is that all the people that have made these decisions probably have moved on, retired, and probably popped off as well, because that's another story. So why don't we do the public and just pay the paymaster, stop the new bill, and stay where we are? Those in this chairman may question the further use of budget support reserve. Yet, if it is proven to utilise further reserve from the proposed History Centre from Oslo, this is based on just over 600 responses to the consultation, which is 10%, just over 10%. In Waydale, when the care homes were closed, there was 10% of the population wrote in and nobody took any notice. That's another story. The £180 million backlog in highway maintenance can be investigated in this can be safe for everyone, reducing insurance claims by investing a further 5.37 billion next year and a further 3 years. Our communities and centres and village halls will receive a little bit of help so they can help themselves. The campaign was used to cease, few areas in the best comes scheme will be recognised. I'm not attending, so I'd like to commend this amendment to the Chairman and ask you all to forget politics, think of our constituents and do the right thing.
Thank you, Councillor John Shuttleworth. Do we have a second then, please?
Chair, I'd like to formal second the motion.
Are you reserving your right to speak?
I am not, Chair.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please?
Chair, I support this amendment. Basically because I'm totally against the building of the new county road down to the south. I'm also against the extra money that's going to be provided to the St. Oswald's History Museum. We went out for consultation. Yes, everybody agreed with, but that also was agreed with something like £4 million Heritage Lottery Fund. That lottery fund has not come through, and yet we built it in without going out for consultation. In regards to the 6,400 jobs at APS, I'm still waiting for the 2,400 jobs that's been promised at Durham Gate and Spenlow. So I'm not actually sure these 6,400 will materialise. So I will support this motion, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Are there any other speakers?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I stand to report the amendment is flawed on so many levels. We've already heard that it's been through scrutiny, and every member has had an opportunity in this chamber to take part in that process. The last Chair, you might recall I criticised Councillor Shuttles for not attending scrutiny. This year, Chair, I'm pleased to say that we have seen Councillor Shuttleworth on the odd occasion. However, given this amendment contains much of the same information from last year, clearly the message around communication still hasn't got through. I'm not going to stand here and repeat what I said last year, but I do wish to reiterate a few points around communication, Chair. And I think it's worth reminding the members that we've got a statutory duty to consult and inform our residents about what's happening at this council, and we need to meet our obligations under the Appointment Act. So, Chair, I want to just say a few messages from last year's scrutiny work programme could not be any clearer around communication. This year, every thematic scrutiny committee have highlighted communication in some shape or form as being a key element to the success of this council. Even Councillor Wilkes, at a recent Environment Scrutiny Committee meeting, asked that we make more use of the County Durham News to help inform our residents about single-use plastics. And it's only a couple of years since the Lib Dems wanted to scrap the County Durham News, so it just goes to show, Chair, what a good job scrutiny's done and how it's been effective in recognising the importance of good communication at this council. So for me, Chair, the amendment goes against the messages from scrutiny, so I can't support it. But what I would like to say to our independent colleagues is please, come along to scrutiny. You're very welcome. Our door's always open, and we would like to see you a picture more often.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Carl-Marshall.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just want to start by suggesting that any suggestion that this site will be used for anything other than create 6,000 high-skilled jobs is totally disingenuous. Any doubts that Councillor Shuttleworth has into the legitimacy of our claims that those 6,000 jobs can in fact be created on here, he might be well to go and do a little bit of research into the report that went back to the Cabinet where the plans were endorsed by several business leaders, including independent consultants, that these 6,000 jobs are in fact deliverable. I'm very surprised that Councillor Thompson has stood up. Within the past few weeks, we've seen significant development on the Durham Gate site with the relocation of learning curve to the site, creating hundreds of jobs, big national provider of training and skills and feeding into the power by people campaigning in the council. I thought it might be standard to congratulate us on that development coming forward to fruition. Chairman, in terms of Councillor Shuttleworth's budget amendment, it sets out the financial implications of ceasing entirely the development of the new HQ and the History Centre. It doesn't, however, mention any of the more important implications of the proposal. Let's list a few. Would not be able to develop the high-quality business park with 80 heads, so would lose the opportunity to attract 6,000 high-quality jobs to the county. That means that even though we know the businesses would come to Durham, if we had the office accommodation available, would instead choose to turn away from the long-held vision and instead stay in an outdated building which is too big for us. We will lose the opportunity to create a history centre that includes everyone across all 14 area action partnerships. would instead choose to keep our archives where they are now, and where we can soon lose our accreditation to hold such historic records in the future, because we can't continue to store them safely. We'll be able to work in a modern, flexible way across all of our strategic sites in the county in a couple of years' time, except for Even County Hall, where our staff and visitors to turn back the clock and continue to work in outdated offices lose an opportunity to work with more productivity and providing a better quality service to the public. And that's not the worst of it. It's not as if the plan is cost-free either, Chair. Councillor Shuttleworth's plan that involves no jobs growth that would prevent us relocating our employees to support local businesses in town centres and the city centre, and that would keep our employees having to work within the least efficient office accommodation, could put all of our historic records at risk, would cost us £37 million. I know that we've asked for just 10 million to be made available across MTFP line, but let's be clear, if we cease the development of the new, smaller HQ and History Centre, then we'll be staying here for considerably longer than 4 years. It will cost just over 5 million. It will cost just over 5 million or more than half of what you propose just to redecorate County Hall. Even if you would offer mates rates on it, it is not value for money. And I know that you prioritise much more urgent issues than redecoration. You need to choose between maintaining the outside of the building, the walls, the roofs, the windows, and inside lift mechanisms, because you certainly couldn't do both. Many times I've heard you mention the County Hall's riddled with asbestos, and that is a fact. That's why maintaining this building is expensive. It makes no sense to spend 37 million on an outdated building that's too big for us and not fit for
You must wrap up now.
I'd urge everyone to oppose the amendment, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Marshall. I have Liz Brown wishing to speak. Liz?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the independent group and Councillor Shuttleworth. The Lib Dems would wholeheartedly support this motion if it were not for the mention of the History Centre. People come from all over the world to consult the archives at County Hall, and they're not fit for purpose. I never thought I'd ever agree with Councillor Marshall. Still cleaning up after the last flood. This isn't right. These are important documents. Also, this is not the place to discuss the closing of the DLI Museum, but that collection deserves to be on display again, not languishing in a warehouse in Spennyville. The History Centre, including the Registry Office, will be an asset for Durham City. It should not be shelved. If Councillor Shuttleworth would remove the History Centre from his proposal, we would be happy to support his amendment. Sadly, as it stands, the Lib Dems must abstain.
Thank you. I have Councillor John Clare. John.
Thank you, Chair. As a small explosion of exasperation at this, the 6th year in my experience, that the opposition has yet again suggested that the answer to County Durham's financial situation is to abolish the Durham County News. All of us in this chamber are aware that many of our residents do not know or understand what this council does or is doing. We get people saying things like they pay a lot for very little. We get people who don't know that the Durham County News is not called the County, they call the Durham County News the County Durham News. The answer to this and many other examples which you're aware of in your private work as a councillor, that people just don't know what's going on here, the answer is more communication, not less communication. How often have you heard people say to you, well, it was not decided, nobody told me about this? How often have you said rudely that it seemed that the only solution was that we go around knocking on every door, telling each person individually what's going on? And have you never realised that that's what the Durham County News does? It goes around each home individually
amendment standing in the name of the Durham County Council Independent Group. But I do have to pick on the element of the motion that relates to council tax. How many times have I stood in this chamber, in Cabinet, berating the government for passing the cost of providing services to local council taxpayers? I've just spent 6 minutes on this about a quarter of an hour ago. We are left with no choice but to raise council tax. The government are telling us to put it up, and they are assuming it's going up with the figures that they quote. Everyone's aware now that Broken Chise quoted the figures about the cost end review of £1.3 billion. That's based on every council maxing up on the council tax and obviously taking advantage of what is left of the old social care reset. What I can tell members is that those councils that have not increased council tax and who have not made the savings we are forced to make by government are now at a financial cliff edge or are all falling over it. I haven't got to be ever ended up in this position, Chairman. I think I went on at length last year where exactly the same motion from Councillor Shuttleworth, who was at the Cabinet 2 weeks ago today, when I told them how reckless it is not to put, we don't want to put council tax up, but it's being forced upon us. I talked about the shunt from the centre to local. If you look at our net revenue spend now, it used to be 25% council tax, now 50%. Policy of the Conservatives, Chairman. And that's why Surrey County Council's new leader is saying we shouldn't have made the difficult decisions, we shouldn't have made the savings, but we should have put the council tax up. I would urge members to vote against this amendment, which takes no account of the pressures we are under, all the loss of income that would result in. And that's what the leader has realised, many leaders around, because not increasing council tax has a negative impact on the base budget moving forward. I urge opposition chance.
Thank you, Councillor Alan Napier. I have Ozzie Johnson. I think we must be moving towards a conclusion at some point. Ozzie Johnson, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and be brief. With regards to the History Centre and the lack of consultation responses, I'd just like to remind members that there was unanimous support for the History Centre from every AAP across. The AAPs are made up not only of councillors from all political spectrums, but also partners and residents. And with that, I urge members to oppose this amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Chairman, I have a point of personal clarification, please.
Go.
It would appear that the last speaker said that we've been out for consultation and because of that we shouldn't ask a question. We went out for consultation. I believe before the money from the lottery fund was refused. My question was that, my statement on that was we should have gone out and consulted again. And maybe we should have had a statement where the extra £4 million coming from, other than just from capital funds in the future. I'm not against taking out history. There's nobody more interested in history than me. I was just making a point, Chair.
Your point of it is noted. Thank you for that. I still have Councillor Kevin Shaw wishing to speak.
Thank you, Chair. If we're to see in county government long term, which is budget amendment implies, portfolio of assets, I know we would have to ensure that the building continues to be safe to use for the long term, which includes addressing the maintenance backlog and ensure that the building is fit for purpose so that our staff can operate effectively into the middle of this century at least. We've been planning for a number of years now to redevelop 80 heads and move our HQ off this site. We have ensured the building is safe to operate from. We spent the minimum we've had there on maintaining it. It would not have been a good financial investment to do otherwise. It also means there's a maintenance backlog that considerable investment is required if we were to maintain this building. Just maintaining this building in its current configuration would require work to be carried out externally on the roofs, walls and windows, for example, and internally too. For example, the lifts and also redecoration. County Hall was constructed using asbestos, which is safe if undisturbed, but it has to be removed as part of any building work, which adds considerably to the cost of the works. County Hall is an outdated building that is not fit for purpose, and after years of government prosperity, is much bigger than we need. For example, we have almost 20,000 fuel posts that when we started as a European European Council. If we remained in County Hall, we would need to reconfigure our office accommodation in the same way as we do in our strategic site in Crook, and are now about to start in Green Lane in Swanmore. So we have a choice. Staying here in unfit for purpose accommodation, which will end up costing more than moving to a smaller, fit for purpose, cheaper run building on the sands. Council Marshall has already outlined the negative implications for jobs and the economy if this amendment was agreed. From an assets perspective, Council Shuttler's amendment makes absolutely no business sense. Chairman, you wouldn't really cheap shop like that. So obviously I cannot support the amendment.
1 minute. Thank you, Councillor Shaw. I don't wish to curtail the debate, even though we do want to do progress. I have Councillor Rob York, which is Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. Speak to strongly oppose the amendment. There's a couple of points I'd like to pick up on. The first one being about village halls and community centres. The Council's approach towards village halls and community centres has been to provide them with support to move towards asset transfer on the basis that facilities independent of the Council, controlled and managed by local communities, will be more sustainable and vibrant organisations. As part of this overall approach, the Council took the decision to withdraw its community buildings grant and instead to provide substantial officer support and capital investment of over £2 million to help centres take control of their assets. The approach has been evaluated by Durham University, who concluded many of the centres are now in a better position financially following the asset transfer. While for those centres that may require short-term support, the Council invests over £2.4 million annually in neighbourhood budget grants for elected members to assist local projects, which is further supplemented with over £1.3 million directly through AAPs. There are many examples where the sources of funding are being used to invest in village halls and community centres, and I suggest this is a more appropriate means to assist this more important sector of our community. I'd also like to pick up on the point on highway maintenance funding. Despite unprecedented reductions in government funding since 2010, the Council has protected investment in programme capital maintenance. Indeed, funding has been steadily rising. The Council's contribution to capital maintenance in 2010-11 was £700,000. However, this has increased to £7.5 million in 2018-19. Following the severe winter 2017-18, which led to an increase in potholes, the Council has invested a further £700,000 in resurfacing of unclassified roads.
1 minute.
The Council has also recently received an additional £5.3 million worth of funding from the Department for Transport, which is being used to resurface further unclassified roads county-wide. I urge members to vote against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor York. No one else is registered to speak. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? In that case, can I move on? I must turn at this point to a reply, which will be given by Councillor Hay. Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just reply to two or three of the points that have been made. I've seen a number of members have spoken on the amendments. I think the point on the council tax has been well made by my colleague Councillor Napier, and I obviously mentioned before that the government assumes that we will increase council tax to the limit. We've already said that we are not in favour of what the
Thank you, Chairman. If I could just remind members to wait until I hear the beep to show that the voting is open. If you're voting in favour of the amendment submitted by Councillor Beckford, press 1. If you're voting against, it's 2. And if you're abstaining, it's 3. If you accidentally press the wrong button, just press the correct one and it will rectify your vote.
Close the vote. Thank you. We're meant to pause, take in this information, therefore. DCC Independent Group 4, 15, against 70, abstain 18. The amendment is lost. Thank you. There's still a few more slides to go through, so we are waiting for that. Thank you. Okay, can we now move on? Could I invite someone to move the Liberal Democrat Group amendment, please?
Chair, thank you. Well, I'm not going to take the full 10 minutes, so I'm conscious of time and allowing people to speak. I'm quite hopeful you're going to accept this because it will include the abolition of the county guarantee, so I'm going to watch it request. Let's see what happens. No one can deny the continued financial pressures being imposed on local government. And combine that with the grant reduction of increased pressures of children's services, our schools, adult care, to name but a few. We were therefore quite perplexed as to why, when the rules changed to applying council tax premiums on empty homes, that it did not appear in the budget. Many of these houses could become homes to the thousands of people on social housing lists or those indeed who are homeless. Many of these houses cause problems within our communities, from antisocial behaviour to being an eyesore in our neighbourhoods. But really, it is just morally wrong that we allow these houses to deteriorate and sit empty at the same time as this council is proposing to build over 2,000 homes and a green belt and thousands more through the county government plan. Our amendment today not only provides funding for the investment proposals as documented, and I'm not going to read through them all, I assume because we put them in last week that everyone's read them, but it also provides for over £1 million to go towards reducing the saving requirements in the MCFP9 moving forwards. I would therefore urge you all to back this amendment to improve the areas as documented, but also to reduce the need for further saving in the forthcoming year.
Thank you, Councillor from the Hot Group. Do we have a seconder, please?
Chair, can I second this, please, and reserve the right to speak before the right of reply?
You may. Thank you. Councillor Craig Martin.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll be speaking to promote the amendment recommend the amendment, in particular I'll be speaking in particular the highways piece of the budget. I'm not going to repeat something that Councillor Shuttleworth said, and you know, we've heard the response repeatedly from the Cabinet that there is enough money being spent on roads, and there's always extra funding going on the roads. But by the very fact that two different political groupings in this chamber have both independently of each other put forward a budget amendment for even more spending on roads shows that there isn't enough money being spent on our roads, particularly our unclassified roads. The fact that the data that we receive from scrutiny and environment scrutiny committee shows that yes, the overall backlog, the value of the backlog is decreasing. The number, the percentage of our unclassified roads are remaining static, the ones that are needing repair. So more does need to be done, and that's the reason why we're yet again calling for more money, and we're putting another £5 million worth of money into this. So please do back this amendment. I don't know about you lot, but I get a lot of calls for better roads in my patch.